Please welcome Urs Güttinger, CTO of Bossard Group, where he's leading technology developments in Industry 4.0 and drives the Smart Factory as a Service initiative. With him is Shyam Chikatamarla, a senior consultant at D1. He has a PhD in computational physics from ETH and authored numerous publications. On top, he has several years' experience in data science and consultancy. Urs and Shyam will present the development and implementation of an integrated and automated email response bot using GenAI. And if you're fighting with emails every day like I do, I really hope that thing works. Please welcome Urs Güttinger, Shyam Chikatamarla, GenAI-based automated email response system challenges with production systems.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to our speech. I'm here with Shyam. So I learned just from Mark that there is so many obstacles with these models. So Shyam is the genius, they handle this. So I'm from Bossard. Bossard is an international trading company for fasteners, screw, nuts, bolts, and so on. So we have 30,000 customers. We have a lot of tools and a lot of parts, and this brings also the complexity in our business. We are a family business since 1831, so we are more than 190 years old. We are in 31 countries, and we have more than 2,900 colleagues. They working with us, and they have to handle all the emails the whole day. We did a little more than $1 billion turnover last year with screw, nut, bolts, and all these different small things that is necessary to build coffee machine, trains, or whatever you need to produce. For our customers, they have different challenges. So they want to be fast in the market, they want to have the best quality, they want to have innovative products. And the business model of Bossard answers this with 3 pillars. One pillar is the products. So we deliver products, thousands, 10,000s of products to our customers. We have engineering parts where we help to find the right products, to have the right assortment, to have the right method to assemble this product. And in the logistic parts, we bring this product with at least possible cost to the point of use where they need the products at the manufacturing areas, in the lines, in the pre-assembly stations. We call this proven productivity. And with this project also, we try to bring in also more productivity internally to Bossard, so we always think about our customer. So with this email helper, we try to bring efficiency to the Bossard people itself. So the challenge we have, so we have close to 1 million different parts. That means our typical customer has maybe 500,000, 2,000, 3,000 different parts from us. That means also there's a lot of shipments. The warehouse in Zug ships every day 6,000 to 10,000 order lines to customers. Behind this, there are about 1,500 different orders. There are several hundred customers they order every day at Bossard, and we ship out these orders. You can imagine that this also creates some questions, emails to our people. The most problem is there's a lot of automated emails. So if the screws arrives at our customer, so maybe it's not the first priority to book these screws into their ERP system. So there is still an open order, even the screw is already arrived. So, and we get then an automated email by tomorrow, what's going on with this screw, with this order line, and so on. So our people get a lot of emails, and most of them we have to answer, we delivered yesterday, we delivered last week, and so on. So what we think about is how could we increase the efficiency of our people. With our strategy 200, that means not in 200 years. The strategy 200 is when Bossard will be 200 years old, that is 2031. We also, in this strategy, we address the efficiency. We want to increase the efficiency of our company itself, and such email helper could help to do this. So we formulated a vision here that we say, okay, how could an email helper help us to answer this certain kind of customer emails, grabs the data wherever they are in our systems, and make a good answer so that our people are happy with that and send it out to the customer so they could answer this email in 20 seconds instead of 5 minutes when they have to grab the data by themselves. This brings us to this question, dear D1, can you help us? And maybe now the complicated part of this speech comes to Shyam. Thank you.
Thank you, Urs. Yes, I want to start off with a simple observation that we probably all agree with. Generative AI makes us faster, better, and maybe even happier, right? It helps us a lot with the tools. This was also the observation that was pointed out in the publication Science Journal by Noy and Zhang, where they have given a writing task to a group of people, one set of people with generative AI tools and another set of people without generative AI tools. And naturally, the conclusion was the quantity output was better, the quality of the output was better, and the people who were working on the tasks, they were more happier, they were more pleased to use these tools. I think we can all agree with that. But more importantly, what I want to point here, the conclusion that they drew was GenAI complements the knowledge workers, does not replace them completely. Okay, and this is the route that we also went with in Bossard, where we did not want to replace the customer service representatives who are answering these emails, but we wanted to augment them. We wanted to complement their abilities, improve their efficiency in responding to these emails. And that was the point of this project as well. So how does the system work? I'm going to walk you through a bit of the technicals there. First task, of course, whenever an incoming email comes in, is to understand the email. Emails are not typically an entry in a database or a row in your table or a JSON format, right? So they are complex. There is text, mistyped information, there is images, there is attachments, PDFs, screenshots. It can be a whole topic in itself. Then once we understand these complex emails, then there is the part of talking to the data itself. The customer may be asking about, where is my order? Or it's supposed to arrive last week, it has not. What is happening? So then we have to get into our internal systems and talk to the data, understand what the status of the order is. So this would be the next step in the process. There are two ways of doing it, roughly. Agents, where an agent writes an automated SQL query, or we do custom queries for it. I'll get into it in a bit. Then, of course, we prepare the response to these emails. And what we should also consider there is the list of business requirements. Maybe the items that have been ordered are partially available in our warehouse. How is that going to be handled? Is there a tracking number available for this order? Should it be included or not? So there is a huge number of business requirements that we have to take care. And of course, once we have that, we prepare a response. And the whole bot or the tool is developed as a web app, which is live in production. And we're going to show you a video at the end, how it works as well. And now we are in the step of integrating into our day-to-day operations. So the first step of understanding emails, like I mentioned, simple text can be parsed through GPT 3.5. Back then, when we started, the vision tools were not so effective or not so functional or not so useful, like, let's say. But now, understanding images has improved quite a bit. and we can leverage that as well. So when we started off the project, we started off with GPT 3.5, but now to parse the images, screenshots, and the PDFs, we use a vision model as well. And to keep costs under control, depending on what is there in the email, we switch between the models. From the email understanding, what we need to do is extract key information, like who is the email coming from, what's the date, what's the order number that the customer is looking for, what's the item that he's looking for, are there any other special requests, and so on, right? Once we have these key information extracted, the natural question that was asked from Bossard side and also to our satisfaction is, how good is GPT in terms of numbers? Yes, we know it understands text, but in terms of specific use case of answering emails, how good is it? So then we did a classification of the emails as a first step. For example, is the email related only to delivery status inquiry? Or is the customer requesting an order confirmation? So we took a few hundred emails, and with a zero-shot learning, or just with a prompt only, we measured exactly how well it works, right? So for the most demanding of the cases where the customer is asking about the order status, or they're asking about an order confirmation, we saw that it performs very well. And this was already with 3.5. And these numbers continue to stay with the GPT-4 and the vision models as well. So once we were satisfied that, yes, for our use cases, these models work well, then we went ahead and extracted further information, like I mentioned, the order number, the item information, and so on. Once we have collected all of this information, the next step would be talking to the data. So like I mentioned, there are two approaches to this. One is via agents, where we ask GPT or the LLM to write a SQL or a pandas or whatever the query, and say, here is the data with some metadata to it. Write your own query and get the required information so that you can respond to the email. So this would be fully automated. That is possible. We can use LangChain or many other technologies for it. But this would be unbounded, right? When we work something with an agent, we have no control over what kind of queries it's writing. Also, it is prone to injection attacks, right? So there are some security issues that we have to worry about when we are doing this. The other option, what we actually went with, the chosen path, was parameterized SQL queries. Since in the previous step, we already determined what type of email it is. Is it regarding an order status? Is it regarding order confirmation? So once we know the type of email, we can formulate a kind of a parameterized SQL or a pandas query. And then we have also information like what is the order number, what is the customer email, domain, and so on. And we can perform our custom queries. So in order to improve security, we went with the path of custom SQL queries, right? Like I mentioned, once we have the key data from the email, we created a custom ERP snapshot, because internally, as Urs mentioned, Bossard is quite international and works in many different countries. We have many different data sources. So we combine the different ERP systems and filter out the relevant data. Once we have the relevant data and the key information from the email, they're combined into a prompt and into a query, let's say SQL query, and we extract the order information. This order information then is now sent to the LLM as a LLM prompt. Here is the order status, prepare a response for it. And while preparing the response, like I mentioned, there is some business requirements that we need to consider, right? There is some predefined conditions, like is there a tracking number available? Should we include that in the email? Is the order unknown? The delivery date, sometimes it's really a specialized item for which we need to contact a third-party vendor, and what will be the delivery date for that? So all of these special cases we consider, and then prepare a response, an email reply. And this email reply is not immediately sent. It is now shown to a customer service representative as, this is the original email, this is the key information that we extract from it, and this is the response that LLM generates. And now the customer service representative still has an option to customize it. They can say, use a more informal tone, or they can say, include a joke in it. Or it's a very dear customer of mine, ask him how he's doing, and so on, right? So the customer service representative has a free chat, free line to talk to GPT directly and enhance these reply. And once they're happy, they can copy paste this. The whole system is developed in a web app, and we use Streamlit as the interface, and it is deployed inside the Azure ecosystem of Bossard. So the entire data lives inside their current ecosystem where the data is also residing, and this was the preferred choice for us. And it also helps us being scalable. Right now, or when it was in the proof of concept stage, we could have a smaller instance of it, and then we can scale it up very easily as needed. Right now, we are in the process of integrating into the day-to-day operations or productionalizing it. So before we finish, one important aspect that I'm promised also is the challenges, right? So there is a number of challenges that come to mind when we are putting such a system into production. One is privacy. So GPT says the data is stored only for a couple of weeks and never used to retrain their models. But the customer service representative who's using this app should be made aware of this, okay? And there is also geo-sensitive data, because sometimes the data is never to leave the country and so on. We have to take care of those. Then comes licensing. Is it a commercial license for the model, non-commercial license? And also these licensing models change over time. So it's not a one-off use, right? We're going to put this system into production. So we have to be aware and constantly monitor this. Then, in terms of the challenging landscape or changing landscape, the models keep changing all the time. This is normal. Any software that you put into production also can change. The API calls can change. We have to be aware of this. For me, the most important is the stability question. With LLMs, are we guaranteed for a given input, we get the same output? So back about a year ago when we started, this was really not the case. On almost daily or weekly basis, GPT was updating or fine-tuning their models, and we were getting different results, slightly different results. Now they have introduced seed as well, but still it is not guaranteed that the end result is the same. So also what complicates here is the a customer service representative has a free chat option to the GPT. So they can make their own chat queries and get their responses. So now, when GPT, I don't know, deprecates one model and I switch to another model, how do I test this? I as a developer was not involved in all the chats that are going on between GPT and the end representative. And if I switch the model in between, and then now the customer service representative says, hey, I don't get the same response. What's going on? What did you change? Right? So this poses quite a bit of challenge in terms of production systems and gaining the trust of the people. And hallucinations, of course, we know. I can answer more questions later, right? I'll give it to Urs for a demo of the process.
So here, a short demo about the email helper. So the people drops the mail in here, and he will get out the most important information and will generate then the answer. And here the answer is, again, the part is already delivered. And now to this functionality that we could say, please add a joke. So there are not many good jokes about screws, but we found one after a while, 10 tries or whatever. So we have the full access to, that the people have the full access to the ChatGPT. This, first of all, helps them to manage the answer a little bit and also get them used to use it. So we have Copilot, but no one will use it until they have ideas how to use that. So maybe some challenges from my side, so more from the people side. First of all, we want to have the human in the loop, so they get an answer, they can copy it to their email client and use it. So it's not to replace people, it's to make people more efficient. So the challenges was, I think, we played around a little bit about the tone, how formal, how informal. So our people have different colleagues at the customer. So this, we played a little bit around to have the good standard. And then often it's not how I would like, I would write it, so it's too short, it's too long, whatever. So, but I think people get used that they can follow this. So the actual pros now for this system is, so the test user always asks us, when do we have it? So we have to do it to the production area in the prod environment. And also I get already the questions, what's the next kind of emails you will help us with? So that's the overview from our side.
Thank you very much, Urs and Shyam, for this very interesting talk towards beautiful strategy, I would say. Efficiency in strategy sounds somehow familiar. Are there any questions from the audience? Over there.
Thank you. So it's a really interesting use case. Thank you for the talk. I'd actually like to ask two questions. The first one, you mentioned efficiency many times. I was wondering if you have a way that you measure that, if there's some metric. The second question is about the integration. If I understood correctly, it's sort of a web app where people have to drag and drop, and this maybe relates to the efficiency a bit. Are there plans to integrate it more directly in the email system?
Should I take? Efficiency.
Efficiency. Actually, we do not. We have not a measurement for that because we could not measure the old kind. We say if the people use it, then it must be efficient. So that's our point. And about the integration, I think there are different possibilities. So we choose the one we could develop by our own, somehow.
So. Yes, in terms of efficiency, yes, it would be very interesting to put actual numbers on it. Much of the response that we got from the customer service representatives was like, our time goes into finding the right ERP system, putting in the right numbers, searching, scrolling, and all of this. So numbers we haven't put, but that'll be our next step. And in terms of integration, yes, we chose the web app because it's quite easy and stays inside the ecosystem. And one way we thought of automating could be like it's a part of the Outlook as a low or no code solution. And this is going to be a little more complex. Like Urs mentioned, we are in many different countries with many different systems that people are using. So we are looking at ways of integrating. But a web app is already easy to deploy to any region, and it stays inside the ecosystem. So for now, we went with the simpler option.
Well, thank you for the talk. I thought it was very interesting. So you mentioned that some customer representative said, oh, this is not how I would write the email. Have you considered to put a learning algorithm on the writing style of the employees?
So not a learning algorithm, but what we thought of doing was having a custom set of preferences. So whenever a customer service representative is using the app, we know their login details. And they can have a pre-selected prompt, a system prompt, that customizes the response to their need. Keep the email short, include a joke, ask about the weather, whatever their preferences are, right? So per user, it is possible to customize it. And that is something that we considered, yes.
One question about performance. How do you measure the performance of the model? So when an answer is generated, yes, I mean the generated answer is non-deterministic. But how do you make sure it actually talks about, I mean, the hallucinations also? How it actually talks about the right order number, the right date of delivery, or send this kind of stuff?
So our people are very critical, so we have a thumb up and a thumb down. At the beginning, I think we get some thumb down, so now we are quite good. Maybe this question is then more relevant in a while when they think it's always correct. So, but it's a good point. Maybe we should think about.
Yeah, I mean, so the answer is not given in a vacuum, right? So along with the answer, what is not shown in the app, there is a minimized ribbon where the customer service representative can open it, and it will show which ERP system did we take the data from, which is the order number that the machine is talking about, which is the item number that we are talking about, what is the current state, delivery status in it. So all of this information is shown in a tabular format. And we choose the most likely option there, but the customer rep has an option to switch to another one and regenerate the reply. So we kind of factualize or base our reply on that.
So it's like chain of thought.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
One last question, right over there. Front.
Thank you for the presentation. It was interesting. My question is for the privacy part. So, have you thought about using open source models, instead of using GPT?
Yes, I mean, when we started off the project quite some time ago, the open source models, we did try them because it would offer much more flexibility, but their performance was not as good. In terms of classification, more or less okay, but in terms of customization and the replies that we generate, were not as good. Another point that I forgot to mention is Bossard is in so many countries. The model has to be performant in many different languages and many different settings. But now, with open source models that are being released now, they are almost as good, especially for a simple task like this. And that is something we'll have to revisit again. And they might be equally performant because the task is not as complex compared to other LLM tasks that we are doing. But a very good point, yeah.
Are you going to stay with Streamlit for the production environment, or?
So that is for the Bossard IT, internal IT to decide. We haven't done it yet, so we are still in the process of negotiation. So Streamlit is very good for a quick proof of concept, yes. But final choice will be made from the Bossard internal IT. So they have a dedicated team that specializes in productionalizing apps like these, and their choice is not clear, I think, right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please grab Urs and Shyam for further questions and break.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, we get something.
Merci vraiment.